Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 11 of 100 Days of Code with Leon Anderson. Leon, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Today I basically combined all of the JavaScript things I learned today in some exercises that were a bit bigger than the usual chunks of coding exercises, which are very isolated most of the time. I built a little to-do list app, like quote unquote app, that is like half running through the console and half of it running through prompts. And in the course, one can either do like a code along to just watch it and then code along, or what he said, what the teacher Code said was that you can also try to build it by yourself first. So I took that challenge, and I would say I managed to do like maybe 30% of it on my own, and then I got stuck in some stuff, so I had to so then I watched piece by piece, and when there was already a hint of how something could be solved, I paused and then tried to do it on my own without him demonstrating it. And this way I built most of, I would say 90%, 80 to 90% of it on my own. And at first I was overwhelmed, but there were just a few fixes that I needed, and the rest of my ideas about how to were pretty good. So I had some proud moments, and I even improved a little bit onto his app with some with an idea that I wasn't sure if it would work, but it worked. So I think, let me check real quick before going into that if there's anything else that I did before that. Yeah, before that, I did. Yesterday I stopped at nested loops. So today I did the while loop, the break keyword, the for off and for in loop, and iterating over objects. So basically, what we talked about yesterday as well, how there's a difference between. Did we talk about that yesterday?
Yeah, we did. So if anyone's missing this, also check out yesterday's stream to learn about the basics of arrays and array manipulation and for loops. But continue, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just not sure which part of iterating over objects we talked about. It's kind of a blur of all these inputs in my mind at the moment, but I think the main point is that you can't use, for example, you can't use the no, I don't know. Some things are not possible to to use with objects because they are not iterative. They're not. Is it called iterative or iterative? Iterative.
Iterable.
Iterable. That's it. That's it. Because they're not iterable. I think I have it in my coding notes somewhere. Where is it? To do formula. My formula. Yeah. Yeah, you have to use the for in loop instead of the for off with literal objects, as they are not qualified as iterable. Is that right? Literal object. The objects are literal, right?
There are object literal. So
Okay. Object literal objects. Oh yeah, object literals, not literal objects. Yeah. literal objects, literal. Oh my goodness.
yeah, lots
Okay.
of slang going on here.
So yeah. And all of these combined with all the things starting from Sunday, I guess, were kind of implemented in the thing I built. And I guess it makes sense to just jump into the
Yes.
the
I'm gonna stop my screen share and show us what you built.
Yes, let me select the screen share. Where is it? Setting, present, share screen.
Also, I want to point out at this point for anyone watching, feel free to put your questions in the comments if you have any questions. And also, if you're watching this afterwards, feel free to just jump into the next stream. And I also want to point out, if anyone is starting out their coding journey, it only took Leon 11 days. 11 days to build his own first little thing. And even, stray away a little bit from the course and experiment. So think about it. You can be less than 2 weeks away from doing your own things with the computer and talking to it natively in the language of the computer. And like for me, it just blows my mind.
All right. Did the screen share
The
work?
screen share works, yes, but can you make the code a little bigger so it's better readable? That would be awesome. Yeah, that's nice. Perfect.
Okay, let's hope this is not too big. Okay. So I built this quote unquote app. So if I go to the browser and what? Someone is calling me. Give me a second.
Is that part of the app everyone asks?
No. Come on.
Brief intermission.
Okay. I have to. Okay.
This is made to do it live. We're doing it live.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So if I go into, if I press F5, if I refresh the browser, this prompt opens up. This is basically the start of the app. And if I type some random stuff, because I don't know, maybe I'm a user who doesn't know what this app is all about, then there's a prompt that shows me which options there are. I put this in additionally. This was something I added in, and there are some weirdnesses about it, because now if I, for example, want to add something new to the or so the whole thing is a to-do list app. I think I better demonstrate it in where it in the workflow that it actually works, and then I can show where it still has some hiccups. So I'll
Sounds like not only did you create your first app, you also created your first bug.
come on. So now let's start from blank slate. So the app is about adding to-do items and being able to also delete them and being able to show them and being able to quit the app. So if I want to add something, I have to type in new, and I get asked to add an item. Then I can choose item 3 because there are already 2 items inside. And the add dated was means an update of what was added. I was too lazy to update or yeah. I was a bit lazy about the naming, about what I at first I had updated there. What doesn't matter anyway. Now it's printing out the whole list, including the item that I added. In the original version, it just said item got added. What I also can do is I can type list, and then the list as it is gets shown, and then I can say delete, and then I can choose which item, which number I can delete, and then I can type, for example, 2. And now it's the dedated, it's the delete updated version that is shown. And what the thing that I made better in my opinion than code was that in the original one you had to type in the index number, which starts at 0, and I found that to be annoying for to-do lists. I wanted to have it start at 1. So as you can see here on the left, where is it? I let it show the index plus 1, and then later here in the delete section, it puts in the input -1. So the input would be, if I want to delete item 1, I would press 1, but it has to be 0 actually for the splice to work. So it's input -1. So this way I have I have a bit nicer numbering or numerization.
That is awesome. I love how you immediately think about UX and how to make an app feel better for your user.
Yes. And yeah, basically, what's the so the biggest challenge about this was that what was the challenge at the beginning? Oh yeah, I put multiple ifs below each other instead of else ifs. So I don't know. There was no. It got stuck at different points, and it didn't update the to-do list. Yeah, basically the nesting syntax and ordering syntax was the biggest biggest issue. And one thing was as well, I think this one, or was it the other? Is there another for that I had to do list length? Yeah, I think the list one. Yeah. This is the original list printout where I built the list printout, and in here I try to solve it with an for on loop, or is it on? For in, for on, for on,
For off.
for off, and for in. So I try to do it with a for off loop, and I only managed to show the items, but not the index. So I had the for loop, the basic for loop for that, even though the for off loop is way simpler to and more cleaner to write, I guess, in terms of coding beauty. I don't know. I don't know if I can judge that already, but that's how it seemed to me. And yeah, what else? What oh yeah, here you can see my for off thing grayed out. And
So to
yeah,
interrupt, because I want you, before we go on, right? You said, hey, you would like to solve this with a for off loop, right? And keep this moment as a mental snapshot, because I think depending on your speed, maybe like in a week or two, you just need to learn a few more things. But I don't know where. I know Cole teaches these in the course, but I don't know when. However, I want you to keep a mental snapshot right now, because I'm going to come back to this question with you in a few days or maybe a few weeks, depending on when it comes in the course of code. And then we're going to see if you can either find that idea, how to write this with a for off loop, or I'm going to teach it to you. But yeah, just wanted to quickly get you to make a mental snapshot here.
got it.
Because we can come back to it and we can do it exactly within for off loop. But there's like a few little more things that you need to know, and I think it would be too much to do them right now. So let's just wait when they have code board in the course, and then we're going to come back to this.
Got it. Yeah, so another like random issue I had was that I forgot to put the quotes around this one, and then the whole code didn't work. And stuff like this, where, and I think there are multiple places where there should be semicolons, but it works anyway. So stuff like that is a little bit is still a bit
Actually, JavaScript barely needs any semicolons in there, so a very, let's say, opinionated war. I think that's overselling it, but basically some people hate semicolons and only use them in the few cases where you really need them, which is very rare. And then some people love semicolons.
okay, that's interesting. Yeah. And so what I was wondering, so let's get into the problems with this whole app, is I wanted to make that so what Cold, for example, didn't put in was this: if the input is none of the usable inputs, then yeah, it didn't have anything for the case that there is gibberish. And so I try to generate an input that shows you what your options are if you mistakenly type something wrong, or if you're just experimenting with the app. But the problem is that if I go into random stuff and now type one of these, so for example new, then I get back to the what would you like to do thing, a prompt, which is probably this one down here, instead of directly going to the new one, to this one. So for some reason, it skips from here all the way to here, as far as I'm seeing it. So that was kind of, I don't know why that happens. And the other thing is that if I go into delete, and then I don't press a number, then I had to write invalid reselect delete option and then enter a number to delete, because if I now enter a number to delete, I just get back to what would you like to do. So I have to inform the user that he has to restart the deleting process in order to now type in a valid number. So I had no idea how I can get from this one directly back into that, to accessing, from this one directly back into this this one. Does it make
Got
sense?
it. Yes. So you do something which is called shadowing, right? So the key, you can keep your screen share. I'm going to remove it from the stream, but you can keep it. We're going to go back to yours real quick. I want to quickly teach you about shadowing, and then you can see if you can find your error. Okay. So you're going to move it from. Oops, I actually removed you. Okay, so now you start screen sharing, I guess.
I stopped screen sharing, yes.
Sweet. So let me open mine real quick again. The code sandbox. Okay. So there's something in JavaScript that is called shadowing. Shadowing, right? So what is shadowing? Basically, let's say you have a variable and you assign it a value, right? So now we have this value here. And now we open some kind of scope. Let's just do the while loop, or let's do a for loop like yesterday, that I equals 0, and well, I is less than 10, and I plus, we do something, right? And yesterday we looked at outer scope and inner scope. And from the perspective of this for loop, here is the inner scope, and here is the outer scope. Or we also call it outside scope, right? Outside scope.
Yes.
And here, inside scope. And you can use both. So we've already created a variable here called foo. And we already thought about, if we declare a variable here, we can give it the same name as above. Let's take crux as the value, because we can redeclare variables in the inner scope, but not in the outer scope, right? So in the same scope, you cannot have the same variable twice. So if we try to put foo here, that doesn't work. And it says, hey, cannot assign message of object. Foo has already been declared, right? And it doesn't matter if we put it below the for loop, still same. We're not allowed to do it. So far, so good. And now, what is shadowing? Shadowing is basically when you have two different scopes and you declare the variable with the same name twice. Because what can happen is, if you use foo in one of the inner scopes, you might lose track of which foo it is, right? Because we can have this foo, we can have this foo. But if we access foo here, if we say console.log foo here, and we look at it, access foo before initialization, we're now trying to access this foo, even though this foo is already defined. So if we comment this out, now it's using this foo. But if we comment this in, it's trying to access this foo right here, which is not yet initialized. And if we move it down, then it's accessing this foo, right? So before it printed out bar as the value, because this is what is signed here. If we put the console log above and comment this out, and if you comment this in and leave the console log above it, then everything blows up because JavaScript knows that in this scope right here, we're declaring a new variable called foo, and we're trying to log it out, but that doesn't work. So we have to move the console log below it. And now when we log out the variable foo, it has this value and not this one. This one's being ignored. It's even an alignment. It says here, foo is declared, but its value is never used, right? It warns us about it. And this practice of giving a variable in the outer scope and the inner scope the same name is called shadowing. And it is an anti-pattern exactly because what can happen is you can confuse the foo that you're using, the variable that you're using. And what I'm going to do you with, and then we can switch back to your screen share, is you are shadowing one of your variables, and it's confusing you. So with this hint, unless you have any more questions to shadowing, let's jump into your code and see if we can fix it.
Okay, let's go.
Sweet, okay. So I'm going to remove my screen share, and feel free to share yours again.
Here we are.
Great, it's back on screen. So let's take a look. Where are you shadowing?
So the let input, I use input for all, like all the time, and it always changes, and I use it out scope and in scope.
Exactly. So let's look at the first two occurrences of input.
So this one and this one?
Yes, exactly, right. So in line, you have the reverse counting going on, but basically in that line here, we're assigning 2 and 6 here. So in 2 assigning input, and then in 6, instead of changing the value of input, right, you create a new input. But this input only lives in the scope of your if.
Got it.
Okay, and it confused you because it has the same name. But if it would have a different name, then you would probably know, okay, this is not the same thing, so I cannot reference it. So you could either, or like one way to, maybe you can come up with a way to fix it. How would you fix this?
Yeah, I would probably have to give this one a different name.
Well, if you give it a different name, then even if someone puts something in, it would not be used by the rest of the code, right?
Yeah, I would have to then put the name in different places, update the name in the places where this should go, right?
Well, if you do that, then the problem is the first input is not used.
But isn't it used automatically at the start of the app, and then from there
because one of
it
your
flows
ifs
into the while loop, and then in the while loop I can use a different input?
Well, if we can try it out. I think let's just do it this way to see what happens, so you can really think it through, basically, and then we can go back and change it again.
Okay. Good one. So, where else? Confused as fuck right now about the Vim dynamics. Here we are. A1 and 9J. I1 escape. And here as well, probably. No.
Yeah, let's keep it like this first, so we can test the hypothesis, right? Yeah.
Okay. No. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Save. and quit and refresh. Okay. Okay. Still the same.
Yeah, and try the happy path now. Like just try immediately adding a new item, refresh the page and try adding a new item.
5. New.
Yeah, input 1 isn't even defined, right? Because input 1 only lives inside of the if scope.
In this scope.
Yes, exactly. So outside of it, no one has access to it.
So they don't have access to this one.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. I thought it's kind of cascading from here to here to here.
No, because they're all like adjacent to each other, right? The scope only cascades down from outer to inner, but it does not cascade between adjacent scopes, and it also does not cascade up from the inner scope to the outer one.
Okay. So
you can just, I think, depending on what you are, control Z or command Z to undo everything. Okay, so what else could you do to fix this?
The thing is that I don't really understand the prompt thing yet. Like how, like if I want to create if I want to get a prompt or get an input through a prompt, no, wait, I'm confused. Wait a second. Yeah, I'm kind of blanking out on this because I don't understand how I can make a new prompt for each different else if and if situation.
No worries. So let's walk through it slowly, right? So let's go through it line by line and try to understand what is happening. The first input, so first of all, you said, okay, you're not really clear what prompt was, right? So let's jump into that. When you write prompt in the browser, what's happening is the browser giving the string that you put into the prompt function opens a prompt up and it halts the underlying JavaScript, right? The JavaScript does not continue executing because now the browser is waiting for user input. And whatever the user puts into the prompt, and then when they click OK, that value is going to get written into the variable that is to the left-hand side of the prompt, right? So you use prompt, the user puts something in, and now it gets captured in the variable. And this is what's happening here. The user puts something in, it gets captured into the input. Now we have a to-do list with the 2 items. And then in the next line, we start the while loop. So if the input is not exactly quit, we go to the next line and we say, okay, if the input is neither list, nor new, nor delete, then tell it, hey, we need one of these 3 input, one of these 4 values, right? Because only these values are valid. But what we're saying here is open a new prompt and whatever the user puts in, save into this new instantiation of input. And the reason why this is a new variable and not the old one is because of the let keyword.
Yes.
Right, because we in the scope, as long as we use var const or let, we actually create a brand new variable in the scope.
Yes. And
so
it would be the same if I would use a const here, right?
Yes. But I think the idea of you is correct. Like, I think your idea is if the user put in something wrong, what I want to do is I want to tell them, hey, give me the right thing, right? And then if they give the right thing, we want to continue executing the program, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. So how can you take whatever they give you here and use it as the actual input?
So this has, from here, it has to travel into here, right? And into here.
Well,
And here.
you don't, and that's the thing. You don't want to do. You don't want to create a new variable and somehow think about how you can give it to the rest, right? Because that's impossible. You cannot pass variables between scope. And keep in mind, I'm also not gonna ask you something that you haven't learned yet. Like, but you can solve this problem with the things that you already know.
But it's not. But it like it's not by changing the let with the const, is it?
No, because both of them create still a new variable, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
the input, and that's where shadowing comes in, right? The input that is being used in line 8, I think, is different from the input that you're creating in line 6.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
The input that you're using in line 8 is the input from line 2. So how can you make it so that whatever the user puts in gets written to the right input?
Maybe with an array? No. Like to if I reference arrays in here, then I can change the input of the array. But
You don't erase. So let me give you another question. Let's say you were in line 3, right? And you want to change. Let's say we create a new line between the to-do list and the input. So that the to-do list is getting created on line 4 instead of line 3. Yes, exactly. So how would you change the input here? If you want to change the input, what would you do?
let input and then something different.
But then you create a new variable, right? And we just talked about how you cannot create the same variable with the same name twice in the same scope.
Maybe I have to delete the let.
Bingo, that's correct.
Never used that. Never
You
used that
didn't, you have
before.
not reassigned variables before?
Not in a practical way, like and I thought that I had to write let input to be able to create the prompt, but I don't know, that was just an unconscious assumption.
Yes.
Okay. So then here as well.
Now, if you change those inputs, like now is this thing where we come in with the shadowing, right, where you get confused, because that input there should not be the initial input, right? Because the initial input must be something new, list, delete, or quit. And if you capture in that input in line 20, if you capture the name of the item, then suddenly input becomes something that it's not supposed to be, which is why it would be way better if in each of the different inner scopes you give it a different name to have also that mental distinction that these are actually different inputs, right? Because they have the same name, it's super confusing, which is why shadowing is an anti-pattern.
So how would the perfect how do you say linking be? So this one should be the same as this.
Yes, because it's literally modifying the one in line 2.
Okay, because I want Okay, yeah, because I want it to basically restart and then enter back in. Is that
Yes.
how? Okay.
Well, you're not really restarting, right? You're just overwriting the value before you go into the code that evaluates what to do.
Yes, and from here it's the flow is to go back into here and then, or am I?
Well, you're like once line 2 has been executed, you never go back to that line.
Okay. That's interesting.
Right? You only loop through the stuff that's inside of the loop.
Okay, so I from here I go. Okay, from here I change this one, but the others are referencing this one.
Exactly, yes. And when you, let's say you put something in that's wrong, then you just execute all of the rest of the while loop. And once the while loop reaches its end, then it jumps back to line, I think right now it's line 5, right? Where it says while input not equals quit. And that is where we have the repetition of code execution, right? But everything above the while is only executed once. So only the code inside of the loop is getting executed over and over again.
Okay, so but does it make any difference if this one is redefining this one? Because if it's here, then it moves. Where does it move? What's the next line that gets executed after this one?
Line 2, line 9.
Does it go over here?
Yes.
And okay, so this is correct to have this one referencing this, or should I have a different name for this one as well?
No, that's correct. That it's referencing the one line 2, yes.
So only when I'm writing, like here.
Yes, exactly, because this one is confusing, right? You could, a better name for this one, for example, would be like new to-do item or something.
Okay. But do I have to put a let in front?
Yeah, of course, because you're creating a new variable, right?
Okay, so only when I create a new one, I have to put let. Okay.
Let var or const, yes. And if you change something existing, then you don't do it.
Got it. So now I have to.
And by the way, just to drill this in your head from the beginning, in JavaScript, the convention is always use camel case, so that you would capitalize the I in new item.
Oh yeah. You're totally right. And now.
I love the win magic, by the way, how you just hover over the thing and it changes.
Do I have to change anything else in this one?
Well, yeah, because now, what do you want to push into the to-do list, right? The new to-do, the new item.
Oh yeah. Got it. Okay. And now. Okay,
no, this one's great.
And then it's from here. It basically loops back. It basically goes down maybe.
It keeps going. The thing is, if you, let's say we jump into the case where the input was new, right? It goes into line 27. Let's assume the input of the user was new. So we go into line, okay, let's do this. So we start the program and we have the first input in line 2, right? And the user puts something invalid in. Maybe they put in, I don't know, add, right? So we go into line 3, the loop starts. We go into line 4, Yeah, I have so much trouble with the lines because of the incrementalization. So we go into line 5, the loop starts. Line 6, we go to the if. The if recognizes that the input is not one of the valid values, so we go into line 7. And in line 7, we now create the new prompt, and now the user inputs new, right? And new, the string new now gets written into the input that lives in line 2. But we keep moving forward. We keep marching on into line 9 exactly. We check is input equals to list? No, it's not, because input is new, right? So we jump to the very end of it, and we jump into line 10, and we check input, is input new? Yes, it is. So we create a new prompt. The user gives in some list item. We save it in the new list item. We put it in the list. We log out, add dated. We go into the for loop. We log out other list items. We log out the underscores so that we can distinguish stuff. And now we jump into line 28 and we check, hey, is the input delete? No, it's not. So we jump to the end of it. And then we jump here, yeah, and now it's asking, hey, what would you like to do? And here you actually don't have the LED. So here you actually did it correctly and you change the input again. And then we change the input through prompt and it keeps going down.
And then it's back.
Yeah, there's nothing happening after it. So exactly when it hits the closing brackets, it goes all the way back to the top to the beginning of the while.
Okay, okay. And now, I guess this one has to be changed still.
Yeah, you can do that. You can be like, I don't know, item to be deleted or whatever.
Yeah. No. 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 Okay. Camel case. It's still quite a hustle with the Vim.
That's fine. I respect the hustle.
Let's just. Okay. No. Oh, now I have to. Fuck it, I used them all. No, I have to train it. But no, I train it by day and then I. Yeah. Anyway.
Train by day, then by night, all day.
Wrong one. Fuck. So.
Don't worry, if I had to cut this together into a video, I'm gonna edit it to look like you nailed it on the first try.
Fuck. B W E Y J W W W W D W H. Why the fuck isn't it?
Because DW puts it into your saved memory, right?
Fuck. How can I delete a word? Oh man.
Well, there are two things. There is such a thing as posting from the second to last thing that you deleted, and then I just know that it exists. I don't know how to do it. You would need to look it up. But for the time being,
Anyway,
you could first delete the input and then put the variable in there.
No, E, B. This is E, I, J, W, W, I, O.
Someday someone who's completely fluent in them is going to watch this and they're gonna feel young again.
This is so X. What?
Yeah, but it always saves the last time that you delete.
What? Also with X? No.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay. So I have to delete first. Oh, come on. Let's fuck it for now.
Yeah, let's fight it for the second month. Yeah. But I mean, we're already done, right? The last lesson that I only want to give you in terms of your program, because I think it's awesome how you did it, right? And I think you learned a lot about shadowing today. The last tip that I have for you is I would always, and this is also a huge debate, right? But this is 10x dev, so I'm going to give my opinion. I would always favor const over let, and always use const unless the variable needs to change, right? So for example, inside of the for loop, the variable needs to change. So you would always write for let I equals 0. And the input in the very beginning needs to change in line 2. So I would also use a let there. But for example, for the new item and for the delete item variable, I would use const. And the reason for that is because if you adhere to this metric and be like, hey, whenever something changes, I use let, and whenever I never touch it, I use const, then it also reduces your cognitive load. Because if you always use let, then you never know if a variable changes or not. But if you then use const, you know, hey, this will always stay the same. So your brain can relax once it reads the const, then know, okay, whatever value is in here, it will keep that value forever. Right? So it's just a way of telling yourself, okay, I have to think less.
Got it.
I just want to shout out Ryan Florence at this point, who is one of the two geniuses behind Remix, which is one of the best frameworks out there right now, and he always uses that. So shout out Ryan Florence.
He always uses let. No.
Yeah, he's great, but he's a maniac, but he's great.
So he doesn't adhere to the const rule.
Yeah, well, that is my rule that I just gave you, but that's why I prefixed it with like highly opinionated.
So I think the last point in this code is the what I do after the else, or with the else to get back in. And I guess this is also just a new.
Oh yeah, I just saw since you in this one you want to modify the delete item variable, right?
Yes, got it.
So you have to make that a let, and then you know what to do.
Yes, let or const. This has to be a let.
Yes, because they're changing it now,
okay.
right?
Okay. And back down in now here, like I can get rid of the let, right? Can just
Yes, but you also want to think of exactly.
Fuck.
Well, now we're only prompting, right? We still need to assign whatever we get from the user into.
Yes, it was a Vim movement mistake.
Okay, you got it.
Okay, and now it loops back into there, and then
No, that's also the thing, right? Technically, if you want to make it work like that, you need a loop here, because what's happening right now is if this line gets executed, because we are not in any loop here except for the upper while loop, it would continue to the next input down below. So you'd also have to add some kind of loop here if you want to do that. But I want to point out, like, we're already all the power again, so I think we should have to cut it soon. But I want to at least point out that, because I know that you are probably now able to fix this last behavior that you want.
I am.
But the main thing here is now it's a lot easier to understand what's going on now that we're not using input for every variable, right? It's a lot less confusing now.
Yeah, and you helped me to understand like the general flow of JavaScript programming because it wasn't really clear because it in from code so far, because it was always just isolated small things and not big bigger flows. So
Yes,
now I
and
understand
that's how we learn.
the meta nesting. So that's what I struggled with the most today. So I'm very happy that I learned it.
See, you do. And like, if anyone else has the same journey as Leon, then just know that it's completely okay to struggle with this in the beginning. I have too. Everyone has. It's completely normal. This was your Leon first project, and if it's your first project, your someday, or chat as the hit kids say here on Twitch, chat. If it's your first project one day, and you also struggle with this flow, do not worry. You will get the hang of it eventually. I really hope this stream clarified things for you and how programs flow. Yeah. Anything you want to add before we jump out here? Any last questions, last words of wisdom from you, Leon?
No. Yes. Get yourself a mentor, because I would have struggled with this without my mentor.
Well, that's what we're here for. So yeah, anyone who needs a mentor, check out 10x Dev. Check us out on Twitter. Reach out to us. DM us if you need a mentor. DM us if you want to join one of our mentoring groups. We have free ones for beginners, and we have paid ones for people who are already good and want to get better, want to advance their career. Yeah, what we're doing here live is we're watching someone go from 0 to pro in 100 days of code plus. But 100 days of code is the mainstream challenge, so we're doing that for now. Leon Anderson is here. We're live on Twitch, but not for much longer. Following his journey into code in what we call the code call. So yeah, this has been the code call with
Leon Anderson and my mentor,
Alice Nil from 10x Dev. See you guys next time.
Bye-bye.